What's up, everybody? This is Dwight Stevenson with Social Studies for the 21st Century, and I'm going to talk to you all about the 5 themes of geography: location, place, movement, human-environment interaction, and region. And in order to do so with my students, I use a place they know pretty well, the place we get to call home, the Adirondack Park. Let's jump into those 5 themes of geography. First among them is location. Location is where on Earth you are. Where are you? Where is it? Where is it located? And that is the most important thing. Now, there are 2 types of location. First is absolute or exact location, and second is relative location. Now, exact location is a precise spot on the Earth. It does not change. And we can use the tools of latitude and longitude in order to tell exactly where some place is on Earth. That will not change. But the second type of location is relative. Relative location is where some place is located in relation to someplace else. And so, for instance, Saranac Lake is to the northwest of Lake Placid. We are several hours southwest of Montreal. So those are the 2 types of location: relative and exact or absolute. The second theme of geography is place. Now, place is broken down into 2 distinct categories: physical and human. Physical place is the environment, the climate, the plant life, the animal life, the terrain around you. Mostly, it's the natural objects that exist in that place. The second category of place is human. And human is all about the cultural elements, the feel of a place. When you're walking down the street, what languages do you hear as you're walking down the street? What sort of buildings were built there architecturally? And I like to think about it this way: if a tiki hut were to pop up next to Lake Flowered in downtown Saranac Lake, it would look completely out of place. But at the same time, if a lean-to were put in that very same spot, we wouldn't think twice about it. And that's because the human place is all about the feel of that particular place. Okay, so the third geographic theme we're going to talk about is human-environment interaction. And human-environment interaction is all about humans adapting to, changing the environment around them, as well as the environment shaping the culture of the people who live there. And this is a 2-way street. Humans are going to change the environment, change the earth around them to better suit their needs. And likewise, humans are going to change and adapt their cultures to the areas in which they live. And we're going to examine that a little bit later on when we talk about Native American cultures and their cultural regions. But for now, simply know that humans are going to interact with the environment in many different ways. One of the ways that we see very often are things like irrigation, things like changing landscapes in order to build roads, building dams on rivers to create lakes. And we see this right here in Saranac Lake with our very own Lake Flower. Now, when the very first families moved to Saranac Lake, one of the first things they did was dam up the Saranac River, creating Lake Flower. And so we see human-environment interaction all around us, and it's happening regularly. Now, the fourth geographic theme we're going to look at is movement. Movement happens because goods, resources are spread across the world unevenly. And so in order for people to get what they need and want, movement must take place. And movement doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Movement is what connects the world with itself. Different areas, different regions connect and cultures interact. And so when movement occurs, when movement happens because people are seeking to get what they need or want, people are also exchanging ideas, technology, culture, and all of those are helping the global community come together and interact. And so you don't just leave your culture behind when you move to a different place. You don't just leave your culture behind when you visit another place. And so those interactions that happen because of movement help to shape and change all human cultures that come in contact with it. And so one of the ways we see that here in the Adirondacks is looking at the number of tourists who come to our area. They come to the Adirondacks, especially this time of year in the autumn, to see the beautiful changing colors of the fall foliage. We have a plethora of forests that change colors in the autumn. And so people come to our region here. They come to the Adirondacks to experience fall foliage like they have never seen before. And so we wind up getting all those beautiful browns, reds, yellows, and people come to see it because they just can't experience those beautiful hues of autumn colors where they are. So in order for them to see and experience fall in a way they never have, they have to move to here, even if it's just for a day or two. Now, region is an area of the world which shares similar characteristics with another area. And regions can be formal, meaning they have a distinct boundary and oftentimes some sort of government entity or official entity that marks a place, that marks the region. You're either inside the Adirondack Park or you're outside the Adirondack Park. And if you're inside the Adirondack Park, the Adirondack Park Agency is an agency government entity that you have to deal with. Okay, then there's also functional regions. Now, functional regions are places which exist out of mere benefit. Okay, so areas that are cities and suburban areas become regions in a sense, that greater metropolitan area. An area here in the Adirondacks known as the Tri-Lakes, including Saranac Lake, Tupper Lake, and Lake Placid, is also an example of a functional region. And then lastly, you have vernacular region. And vernacular regions are regions that are mentioned in everyday life, but no one is really quite sure where that line begins and ends. And so for instance, upstate New York, you talk to people who live in Poughkeepsie or White Plains, they're like, yeah, I'm in upstate. And all of us up here in the Adirondacks, north of the Thruway, are thinking, what are you talking about? You guys are downstate. Meanwhile, the southern tier in central New York, western New York, nobody's really quite sure where those parts of New York begin and end. And so that's an example of a vernacular region where everyone has some kind of an idea of what it is that you're talking about, but they also have their own ideas about that name, that distinction of what makes that region. All right, so this is the 5 themes of geography, and hopefully this helped you to gain a better understanding of location, place, movement, human-environment interaction, and region. Those 5 themes of geography. This is Mr. Stevenson, and I will see you next time. Bye.